आपका चैनल ही है ना?
हेलो हेलो हेलो
मेरा
हेलो माइक चेक हेलो।
कोई नहीं चलेगा।
Guys, who's from MMS? Tago. You got
नंतर गरम होणार काय होणार
नमस्ते, आप सबको प्रणाम। गणेश वंदना के साथ वक्र महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। धन्यवाद, आप लोग आए। अब हम कार्यक्रम का शुरुआत करते हैं। I would request all the esteemed guests to first light the lamp and pray to Ma Saraswati so that Buddhi, so that even if Lakshmi comes, it creates earth, not unearth for us. So I would request Ashish ji, Rahman Sahab, Rekhi ji, Davinder ji, Ratan Sharda ji, and Iyengar ji and Madhav Nair ji to please come and light the lamp. Yes. After Saraswati Vandana, it's important to remember Guru. Guru who has given us guidance, who has given us inspiration. And in our case, it is Ravi Iyer ji, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. So we are requesting Ravi Iyer ji, who because of certain compulsions has to travel to Uttarakhand and Bengal. So we are requesting him to say a few words to start the program. So just bear with us for a second, and we are getting him online, and then we will start the program.
रवि सही है आप मेरा मैं समझ एक आप है वही
रवि जी यू आर लाइव, धन्यवाद। स्वयं आप उनका वीडियो ऑन कर दो। रवि जी थैंक यू। रवि जी यू आर लाइव।
India's Taiwan, CEO of Mutual Funds, Devendra Sindhu, former servant, Dr. Ratan Shardaji, author and columnist, Professor Srinivas Iyengar, Director of Bajaj Institute. Dear friends, we Indians are now living in the best of our times. Only a few days back, International Monetary Fund congratulated Bharat for its rapid economic growth and said that India has emerged as one of the star performers. IMF further added that India is projected to contribute more than 16% to global growth. During COVID, India developed Covaxin and supplied 235 million vaccines to 98 countries. India has shared its UPI technology, Unified Payment Interface, with many countries including France, Australia, Singapore, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Oman, etc. India is home to more than 111 unicorns with a total valuation of more than $350 billion. We are now third in the world after USA and China in terms of unicorns. India's economy has bounced back significantly from COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia, and now is a key driver of worldwide growth. In the last 7 years, India's GDP rose from 10th position to 5th position. We have overtaken UK, France, Italy, and Russia. Very soon, we'll be overtaking Germany and Japan. to occupy third position behind USA and China. India has the largest pool of youth. India is also home to large number of doctors, engineers and chartered accountants who are serving various countries around. India is a vibrant democracy, hence growth of India is a green signal for the growth of the world. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
धन्यवाद आपके शब्दों के लिए रवि अय्यर जी. We would now start the session. I would request the moderator of the session, Ratan Sharda ji, who is a prolific writer. He has been an active member of ABVP and then he has written 12 books and he is one of the best-selling authors. He is a
70 years, 75 years post World War II have been among the most peaceful times on earth. Otherwise, there used to be literally for millions of years humans have been fighting. But that is not the topic today. So, and I am a teacher, so I can go on for long. So, when you guys get bored, one of you has to raise their hand, so I can go to the other side and say other things. So, why Bharat is in the position today, which is very different from Bharat which you were born in or we were born in. And from the trends, you will not be able to appreciate that why Bharat is going to take a center stage going forward even more than what it is today. When I was young, when I am around 56 years old, when I was young, at around 7-8 years age, the newspapers across India would flash that there were deaths due to starvation in India, in a place called Kalahandi, in Orissa. I don't know how many of you are aware, because most of you would not have been reminded of that. And today, technology is the only change that happens. Technology is the only wealth creator. The culture doesn't matter. How many times you pray to God, whichever God you believe in, doesn't matter. What matters? I mean, that may matter for your peace of mind, but for subjugating others, for defending from others, but for creating wealth, improving life in a physical sense. That is where the technology matters. And the technology is the only change, and that change used to come very slow. Slowly, the technology changes became faster and faster. And the technology comes in waves. So sometimes there are no periods of any changes or any inventions. And then there are sudden changes of fast inventions. And those waves became faster and faster. And so post-industrial revolution, of course, you had, say, electricity, which took 150 years to spread across the world. We were still electrifying some villages. Cars also took 120, 130 years across the world to spread. Television took 60 years. Computers took, say, 40, 50 years. And then mobile phone 30 years. Google took 10 years. TikTok took 2 years. Why I am giving you this numbers is because the technology is the only change. Technology is the only wealth creator. And the waves are coming faster. The other side is who can learn new technology. It is the population that are young. If you ask me today, my phone is like 5-year-old and I am very happy. I think why should I change, and I am happy with the old functions. The youngsters want better functions, more features, newer things, better clothes, faster changing clothes. The older people older societies are not used to learning new things. The younger people, younger societies are able to learn newer things. So my hypothesis is that the societies that adapt to newer technologies faster, by nature they will be young societies. And last 1,000 years, whenever the technology race was run, India was not even in the stadium. India was not even in, say, 10 kilometers radius of the stadium. We were not even spectators. This is the first time, by quirk of fate, that when technology race is being run, we are at the front line. We are at the starting point and we are ahead of many countries. Why? Just because we are a very young country. Average age is around 30. China has suddenly become old. Yesterday you might have read the news that China's population is now declining. Last year they declined by around 20 lakh people on a 1.42 crore, which is not large. But they've been declining for last 7-8 years. And each year, now onwards, they will decline by larger and larger numbers. And over next 30-40 years, they will become probably 70% of that current population. So China is suddenly old because of one-child policy. Japan is old. Again, because at the same time, Japan became richer before it became old. China got stuck in the middle income category and suddenly they became old. Europe is old. And America will become old if Indians don't go, right? So effectively, this is the only young country which is large, which is also technology savvy. There are countries which are young, not as large as ours, but we have neighbors. But this country is technology savvy. It wants to look forward. It is using technology. Every individual is trying to use technology to improve their lives better. Right? And that is where, for me, the next wealth that will be created will be by young people using new technologies. And it is not that we did not have young people, say 50 years back or 100 years back. We were amongst the largest those days. So what was the difference between those times and today's? That we are so much more confident today as policymakers or as individuals. There are many reasons. That earlier, you have heard of capitalism, right? So capitalism is the word coined by a guy called Karl Marx. He was German, staying in London, and he saw Industrial Revolution where young people ran away from feudal life in the villages into the city and they stayed in slums. Very difficult conditions in London and Brussels and everywhere. And that's where he said people with capital, people with a lot of money are sucking the workers. And that's why workers are the creators and not the people with capital. And so against, when capitalism was a kind of an opposition to Marxism or communism, that everyone is collective owners of things and all. But basically the purpose was that earlier you required a lot of money to produce more money. India was perennially capital because we had been looted for 300-400 years by Britishers. But by the time Britishers came to India, India was around 30-35% of world GDP. Around 1657, when they left in 1947 after 300 years, so India was accounting for around 1.5-2% of world GDP. So we went from like 33% to 2%. And GDP is not the wealth. We sometimes compare GDP and wealth, but effectively we have become, when we became independent, we had very little capital, no capital at all for most people. And that's where we used to think that the countries which have capital can only produce more capital. And that's why we were destined to remain poor. But what happened is slowly, the march of technology was such that slowly the newer businesses did not recover. And slowly over last 30-40 years, people who had never done business before in India, they are not from traditional business class or business caste, started doing business. Not that everyone became successful, but some of them became successful. They became role models. The next layers and then next generation, they started coming. Today, India has become very excited and exciting for entrepreneurs. And one of the reasons is because you don't require a lot of capital to start businesses or grow. One of the earlier successes is Infosys. People who were studying in IIT, they worked in actually Mumbai in Patni computers, but they started on their own. And they were not from traditional business class. They did not have capital. But whatever 6-7 friends, they got together, started this business, and it made them millionaires. Right? In 1993 or 94, their public issue had come. And that public issue had failed. It came in 70 rupees per share. And nobody had heard of IT company only. That public issue failed. And the underwriters were compulsory those days. People, in case IPO fails, underwriters had to subscribe to that. And that, basically underwriters subscribed to that by force, and they became accidental millionaires because Infosys became so large. And 1996, I started Nifty with a base of 95. It was 1,000. No IT company was there. Today, you can see IT telecom being very large, right? Even banking systems, banking companies are hardly there. And today, it has changed in the last 30 years. Right? So why I'm telling you this is, the future is going to create immense wealth very fast because it doesn't require capital. What it requires is a lot of brains, a lot of exposure, a lot of network, a little bit of capital. And that's why I call the new world as capitalism with very little capital. But you can create immense wealth like what Nandan did, what Narayan Murthy did, like B.D. Bansal did later on, or anyone else did, for themselves but also for others, for the society. Right? And that's what for me, that the moral of the story is that technology changes the world. The technology comes in waves, waves are coming faster. And young people learn the new technologies. India is young, other countries are not so young. And India is forward looking, it is technology savvy, it has 4G, 5G, mobile on hand and everything. And we skip the landlines. That is, landlines used to be there across the world. And we skipped straight away. We skipped even computers. We straight away came on smartphone with mobile, right? And so that's where basically India is going to create immense wealth. My hypothesis is that the world is going to create more wealth in next 50 years because of the speed of technology changes than what happened in last 10,000 years. And India's current wealth is around $10-12 trillion. World's current wealth is around $250 trillion. If the world is going to create next $250 trillion in next 50 years
At a higher premium. What for 12,000 rupees sold for 18,000 rupees. Additionally, big 500 rupees notes. So that's where you come from. For your generation, maybe not having noted to sign your certificate itself is a huge blessing. You never know. We used to run around forgetting the nature of some vague SEM would charge you something like 100 rupees at that time. So that's how life has changed very fast. And you are penalized for producing more. I don't know whether you are aware or not. The case against Reliance was that they produced more than they were allowed to produce. So that was a different. So as Ashish said, the future is of young generation. Ashish talked about the huge changes in the technology and because of which the wealth is growing. But I think enabling the technology
as well. So this is disrupting our trade as well. For instance, the international freight corridor, the freight charges have increased by 1.5 times. So given these uncertainties right now, so although our country domestically is growing, but internationally we are not able to, all the charges and everything is increasing. So how do you think we should, our country will maneuver these and will it affect our growth? Thank you.
Hello. No, it's an interesting question. In a way, what is affecting the entire world affects us also, right? So effectively, you're still competing with the rest of the world on a level playing field, right? But if you see what is your export basket, what has sustained you in last say 10 years? 10 years back in 2013, we were called fragile five, right? Today we are in the strongest five. You know, we are the, I think, fourth largest forex having country in the world, fourth or fifth, depending on you consider US as the, because everyone holds the US dollar. So if you take them out, then we are fourth largest probably, right? Why? With what has happened, right? If you understand what do we import as a country, large cases, the services growth, services exports growth has been phenomenal, and remittances along with that, along with FDI, which is basically net. We have been able to ensure that we have very large forex reserves. 10 years back, or say 20 years back, ask him or ask Mr. Rekhi, Pakistan was looking better than us 20 years back. They had better cars, better roads, better looking people, right? They are FD people, right? Today, in 20 years, yeah, higher per capita GDP. Today, why are we looking good? What is the difference between, say, Pakistan or Bangladesh? Even Bangladesh was being talked as a success even 2 years back. Why we are now the success stories? Because they were on lower value add mode. They were on commodity items like Bangladesh is on clothes, garments, which is on a very low situation. They are paying 7,000 taka. Just now there are riots going on to make it sustain on 7,000 taka per month. Taka is their rupee, right? And similarly, Pakistan went bankrupt. Sri Lanka with per capita GDP much larger than ours went bankrupt, right? We had to supply food and also oil and stuff like that. And that is true with Mauritius also. Mauritius is only 10 lakh people. $7,000 per capita income. What is the difference between 2013 and 2023 or 24? Is basically control over fiscal, right? And that's where, and of course, what is selling, you should promote that, and that's why the services exports have increased. Why? Because exports are not being hindered by Houthis, right? Because they are going, as you say, bureaucrats also don't know about why the bits and bytes are going, Houthis also don't know, right? So they can't basically attack services, and that is going to continue to grow because now we have an ecosystem which is able to innovate. On that, many people think artificial intelligence comes and it will reduce jobs. That is not true. When I was young, my first job in 1991 was in IDBI, not IDBI Bank, but IDBI was the largest institution in India those days, and we had bought 1,000 computers. All of them were sitting on everyone's table with all that plastic cover, nobody opened. But everyone went on strike, saying computers will take away jobs. Every bank, everywhere, for 6 months, 1 year, no computers because they will take, because we are populous country, we need to have more jobs, and that's why we need not have computers. And still, once computers came, they increased the jobs many-fold. Even in banking today, there are more number of people, probably 10 times more people in banking today working directly, indirectly than they were ever working before. And of course, we got a population which is completely IT savvy, but we got a huge IT exports business, right? So what last 10 years tells you is that where we are strong at, we should continue to excel, evolve, do well, and that even AI comes, we will be the first to learn, we will use that more to get more business from other countries into here. And today, a housewife teaches mathematics in Mumbai, Powai. I know she teaches mathematics to a Russian student and charges $50 an hour. It doesn't come under Infosys revenue, but it comes to her, right? And so many Indians are going to do well, but overall, I ended up giving $1,200 per person check a month to every citizen. UK gave 80% salary, last drawn salary, to everyone without doing job. We didn't do that. We didn't go back. Many of them have a trouble now. Because of our fiscal abilities and other, the Red Sea problems and all are applicable to Chinese ships also, to us also. Right? And so what we need to export in terms of goods, we still will have the competitors on the overall cost. And just to give you a last perspective, 3 years back, Financial Times wrote a 1 full page article on how the Chinese manufacturing system is so advanced that for next 50 years, no other country will be able to do it because they make Apple iPhones. And Apple iPhones are so complex and their supply chain is unbelievably complex and they have to be very close, all parts manufacturers, so that you can make Apple iPhone in a particular cost. 3 years back. And last year, we started getting 10% of all iPhones. So either it was a PR, public relations exercise by China, advertised in Financial Times and editorial, which was possible. But the other way around is that India is able to learn fast and adapt fast. So today, whatever $10-20 billion of Apple iPhones we are exporting, it's going to increase, and those are high value items. They go by air, not by houses, right? So be aware, people will make you worry. You need to, all the news, today's news, because all of us are exposed to so much news. When I was engineer, studying engineering, we were taught you have to differentiate between noise and signals. You need to worry about risks, but separate the noise from the signal. The amount of noise in last 10 years has gone up by like 10,000 times. But noise is not the signal. News is not the fact. Right? So be aware, be careful. Being adult also means separating noise from the signal, right? So please take that out.
Thank you, Ashish. I was very talked about signal. Fine tuning. There are some people remember their fathers going on the terrace, trying to fix up the TV antenna to find better signals. Tune your antennas not to the world, so you can make better money, also do something for the nation. Thank you, Ashish. I would like to request Ashok Kotwani ji to give the token of appreciation. She runs a campaign for planting tulsi in every home. She has a great idea behind it, but we don't have to listen to her now. But that's why she is offering this tulsi plant to you. It's a medicinal plant. It purifies air. It gives you a lot of strength. If you remember during COVID, tulsi was supposed to be one of the strongest drug against COVID. He's a campaigner and board member, former Chief Executive of KPMG India. He's an entrepreneur and a board member. He's former Chief Executive Officer of KPMG, where he was a member of Global Board and Council of KPMG International. Richard has over 39 years of plus experience in consulting professional services and has worked in Arthur Andersen, Ernst & Young and KPMG, where he has spearheaded the firm in various capacities. He is a qualified CA on the board of KPMG Dubai till 2022, where he helped Dubai firm in transformation and journey. He is a non-executive director and chair of board of CPS Services Private Limited, non-executive director IOTA Analytics UK and independent director PSB Alliance. He is also member of AIMA and board of governor of Entrepreneurship and Professional Skills Council, board of governors Asia School of Business Management, and I am Sambalpur. There are many others. I will cut the introduction short because you know most of you being from MBA, you know his background better than the info is required. He is affiliated to leading business enterprises domestic and worldwide, and is also active member of diverse industry associations. His
Mr. Rahman, Mr. Devinder Sandhu, Srinivas Iyengar, and dignitaries in the audience, and of course the students who have come here to listen. I think after Mr. Ashish John spoke, I don't know what to speak because he gave I think laid the foundation of where we are today. And I had a presentation, typical consultant, I had a presentation, but when I saw the screen, maybe you're not going to see it. So I thought I'd rather speak about what I want to say. So, see, consultants operate with presentations. That's not my usual style. Let me tell you, I like to speak about a topic without a presentation. But there are too many numbers involved. He took you through a historical journey. I take you through a numerical journey. And I think, you know, where we are and where we want to go to. But in the meantime, while they're loading the presentation, I think it's very important to know where we stand as a country. What has happened in India is the biggest thing is the India stack. You know, everybody keeps talking of COVID. You know, COVID did this, COVID disrupted. But you know, the biggest disruption, you know, Charlie Munger was one of the biggest investors. And he asked, what is the biggest invention you think in this world? He said wheels. He said wheels are the biggest. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger are the two. And just as students are sitting here, one of the statements Charlie Munger made, and I want to make it to you, because you're going to go out into the world, you're going to go and you know, work in companies. One statement he made, and it stuck in my head: never sell anything that you could not buy. Never sell anything that you would not buy. And I think you should keep this in mind because we keep selling. So the topic, as we know, is the rise and rise of Bharat. And I think it's a very well chosen topic because India is at the stage where the growth, Mr. John spoke about the Chinese declining population. So I think the one thing that we have to understand, where is the manufacturing going to come from? We are a services economy. Chinese is a manufacturing economy. The way I see it, so we are a service economy. Chinese are manufacturing. So what is going to happen in the world, the way I see it, is China is going to move more to services. India is going to move more to manufacturing. Because where will the manufacturing be done? There is no other country of the size of India which can do the manufacturing. So while we got Vietnam, actually we're very lucky, if you ask me, that the Vietnamese don't know English. Because if they had known English, because I've been there, they are so hardworking and it's such a kind of country which people work crazy out there, but they don't know English, and that's the big advantage India has over Vietnam. So that advantage will continue forever. So this slide, I'm going to give you a few things on India, which is very important. I just thought, India is going to become the second largest economy in the world in 2075. And this is a Goldman Sachs report. It's not a report taken out by this thing out here. Our space program, we have seen, the Chandrayaan, the cost of the Chandrayaan which went in was less than the movie they made on that, this thing in space. The India stack. Anybody has heard of ONDC? Yes. You've heard of ONDC. What does it do? So the India stack, starting with UPI, Aadhaar, and ONDC, is in fact, Microsoft got really scared when the India stack got built, because the India stack could have completely destroyed not an operating system, it is an open operating system, and if we had gone and used it to its fullest extent, we didn't need MS Office, because it would have been a free operating system, anybody could go onto it, and I think UPI has proved that India's digital transactions is about 100 million is our digital transaction, right? And when we got 100 million digital, next country which is the next after India is Brazil, which is about 28 million or whatever, and then China is about 17, 18 million. So to show the extent of digitization in India, and this is all due to UPI actually. And UPI has been a big thing. Aadhaar card was the foundation of everything which we have done. No other country has got every person a numeric code actually put out there. And India's working population, I think we have spoken about the young. See, the one thing which I want to put out here, while we have more than 1 billion people available for jobs, the challenge will be to get them jobs. And are they skilled enough? Because skilling is going to take a lot of investment, a lot of money. I think we need to be aware of that. It's not easy. It can be very easy to make statements and say this will happen in that demographic dividend. Demographic dividend should not become a demographic liability. And I think that is something we should be a little bit careful about and we need to be aware about. India's GDP is going to be 7.3 trillion by 2030. We are about 3-some trillion now. Just put it in context. Apple, one company, he spoke about Apple, right? So Apple, one company is more than $3 trillion value. Just one company. And what do? Just make phones. Like anybody else. But 3 trillion, you must give credit to Steve Jobs, who built an institution which far outlasted him. And and Tim Cook, of course, done a great job in taking the company forward. But it was the first company which became 3 trillion. If you look at the top 10 companies listed in the American Stock Exchange, 9 are, in the world, 9 are IT companies. Only one is an oil company, that's Aramco. In the top 10 companies in the world, there's only one which is there. All the G's of the world have disappeared. So India's spend, if it's going to come, is going to come in infrastructure. And we spoke about the bridge, we spoke about all the plans. We can see it, we can see the change happening out here. The issue and challenge we don't have a financing system behind this infrastructure spend. We don't have an India infrastructure fund, which will, because the funding for infrastructure is very different from funding a corporate or funding any other company which is going there. It's a very different way it works. I think that is something that India will have to get, and we'll have to put in place 143 trillion rupees is going to be the spend between 2024 and 2030, where you the entire country. I mean, you drive around Bombay, you see the kind of flyovers that are going to come. We're going through some problems, challenges. I don't live in Bombay. Thank God for that. I live in another city, which is maybe worse than Bombay, which is Bangalore. So, from a traffic point of view, but so what I do, I go early in the morning, come back, I don't feel the traffic. India is going to become the biggest other challenge for India is we do not have enough spend on R&D. When we came in, we were so much, we must have transfer of technology, we must have this. Why can't India not build their own technology? Why do we have to get somebody else to build the technology? We get it. So I think there has to be technology can only be built if we have investment in R&D. And that investment in R&D is one of the lowest, and I think that's something that needs to be worked on. And this will have to be worked on by the corporates, by the government. They have to come together. I don't think either of them have that much of this thing to go. India is also one of the biggest things which I would like to bring here is India is the what I would say the maximum number of GCC these global captive centers are in India, and these are all large multinationals. So is India going to become the office of the world? If we are going to bear about 45, 60, 50% of the GCCs around the world are in India, and they are growing. Because there was a NASSCOM report which said more than 500 GCCs are going to be set up in India. And everybody wants to come to Bangalore. So even despite all the infrastructure, they want to set up this center in Bangalore. And I asked them, why do you come to Bangalore? They said the weather is good, and of course the talent, the IT is available. Because the India stack was built in Bangalore, not in Delhi. It was built in Bangalore because that's where the technologists sit. And I think Nandan Nilekani, who led it, realized that he had to get all these, he assembled all these people. They have now disappeared, unfortunately. But this team which actually built the India stack actually was assembled in Bangalore. And the next one is, of course, the green energy opportunity. The challenge is, will the green energy become a reality? Because the more and more I'm seeing corporates, we keep talking of ESG. How serious is the world towards ESG is a matter of debate. It's because the reality is very different from what actually happens. Because I've met many corporates, many people, and it's very expensive to move them. And you know where you move. And just say, look at it like this: we move from a normal cars we drive to EV vehicles. You're going to disrupt the entire supply chain, because the car is not made by the car manufacturer. There is an entire supply chain that the car manufacturer only assembles the car. Every single part is made by somebody. So I go to this thing. So there in Japan, they are working on a technology where they are trying to say, can we use the same engine, but we create like a fuel cell, which they will put in and will use it through the same engine. They're working on it. Let's see where it goes. From that, that's a hydrogen. So the hydrogen one is getting worked. So the point in challenge which is coming with EV, like in India, he said the landline suddenly disappeared because when mobiles came, the landline revolution was gone because the mobiles. So the first big revolution in India was when mobiles came, because we had the late mover advantage of in our telecommunications. We brought the mobile late, so we were able to bring the latest technology in mobile, and we beat the world. And we were ahead of the world as far as mobile technology is concerned. India has got the lowest cost of phones. I mean, the lowest cost of charges for your phone, rate for your phone. And all those companies are profitable. Mind you, after being the lowest cost, all those companies are profitable. So you can just imagine that of course, our reach, we've got 1.2 billion people who are using phones today, and we've got over 800 million people who are using internet. So those are the kind of figures, statistics that we have there. So what are the growth pillars for India? The first growth pillar is digitization, which is going to be a force multiplier. In my view, artificial intelligence, which is there, is going to the digitization is going to be a force multiplier. Artificial intelligence is going to bring so much prosperity to the world. It's going to bring, and if we are able to adopt this artificial intelligence, all you people sitting in this audience will never die. Because artificial intelligence will bring so much in the medical field. It's people like us who will go, but you guys are going to live forever. So you just imagine looking same as you look. You take your picture now so they don't forget about it. And you take your picture 40, 50 years later, you'll be the same. And that's what artificial intelligence is going to do. It's going to predict how you can bring longevity to life and everything else. It's going to take away all these, all the people who eat non-vegetarian food. They're going to come to lab-based food. Lots of things which are development which are going to happen with it. India, which needs to reach its furthest part, you can use artificial to get the kind of and also the one, and even if Starlink comes in and the other OneWeb comes in with the satellite phones, they are more expensive than the optical fiber. So they know they cannot compete against this optical fiber. So after the BHARAT net is laid, which is going to be across the country, India will be completely connected, and you know what connection can do. The mobile phone is so powerful, it creates so much of business on its own. So I think that is going to be a big advantage. Startup, India has got, okay, India has got about, startup is over 100,000 startups now, it's going to double by 2030. More than 100 unicorns we already have. So that is going to be, so I think many of you sitting in this audience, looking for a job, do a startup. You do a startup, you'll employ 3 other people. So that in one way we can deal with it. Then infrastructure is going to be, which is going to be something which is going to work on. And of course, reaping the demographic dividend, we got a young population. 25% of the incremental workforce is going to come out of India, of the global workforce is going to come out of India. And our working population is going to increase over. And then we have renewable energy, which is going to be, which is something which we are working on. And so we got green hydrogen, our smart grid. The one point which didn't get covered, I thought is very important to cover here, is India's soft power. I think we have forgotten this word. India's soft power, even many years ago, our films and our actors made us famous in different countries, even people like Raj Kapoor, etc. So Bollywood, music and dance, yoga, traditional Indian craft, traditional Indian craft, and of course our multiple festivals we have across the country. The color in those festivals, this soft power of India, you want to be a global powerhouse. If your soft power is not right, you cannot be a global powerhouse. Soft power is, it connects people. And when it connects people across the world, people, this thing radiate to that particular this thing. I come to the challenges now. Our first challenge is inflation and rising prices. This is a challenge, it's a real challenge. We all face it, we go and spend money, we know what it is. Job losses and less job creation. You realize it in the terms of salaries people are getting, in the times of recruitment. Maybe yours is a prestigious university, so you don't, institute, so you don't face it. But I can tell you many people face their students not getting placed, etc. Skill gap is a big issue here. I think, till we don't bring pride into skill, you don't need to be a graduate. If you bring pride into the job that somebody is doing, you just give them the skilling, they'll go. Because there's so many school dropouts. What do? Kind of skill them. And they'll be able to become employable. So I think skill is going to be a big issue. Infrastructure bottlenecks. I was just talking to a friend of mine, he's completed a deal on a road concessionary and he's saying, deal is done, but it's going to take 6 to 9 months to get all the government clearances. I mean, why do you have to wait? Everything is done, the buyer is agreed, the seller is agreed. Give it to him and let the money flow into the country. So, I think the other big issue that India has to address is income inequality. I think if you do not address this income inequality, we can face a social unrest because the inequal levels, and this has happened post-COVID, it's happened all over the world, let me tell you, but in India it's gone to a big extreme and I think we need to address it. And this can only be addressed if there is more equal distribution of the wealth that is being created. I don't have an answer to it, it has a very deep-rooted problem, it has to be worked on, somebody will need to work on it. And then of course, our regulatory landscape needs to change. If we want to become the manufacturing this thing of the world, our regulatory has to change quite a lot. We can't have regulators going in. I mean, the reality is, it becomes quite harassing for people to put up companies, and I think that needs to change. People need to be able to do their business. You know, the one question somebody asked me, if Apple had been in India, would it become Apple? I'm not sure. Because Steve Jobs failed many times, and he still went and made Apple. India, he would have been going around the regulators trying to answer questions and not being able to do his business. So I think the time has come. Elon Musk is another example. I mean, how many things of his failed? But he just went on. I mean, somewhere along the line, we just need to move on. I think institutions need to be strengthened because if we have a strong institutional network, I think it will be good. And we need to be enhancing our healthcare quality and our education needs to be improved across. I'm standing in an institute which is good, but the education quality across the country needs to be improved to a great extent. And I think it is, when you go down to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, I go there and speak there because I just want to share my views with the audiences and the young students out there. So I think that is something that we need to, I think these are the global events. I think you raised some points on these events, but the Israel-Hamas conflict, how much is going to affect India, the Ukraine war, the US-China rivalry, which is real, and of course the last one is China's global expansion. So whatever we may say about China, I was talking to the Chinese CEO of KPMG. He said China was not as great as you people made it out to be, and neither is not as bad as people make it out to be. So we can make whatever meaning we want out of it, but China is going to remain a global power center because the kind of manufacturing system and infrastructure they have put, it's uncomparable. And I was seeing an interview of Tim Cook. They asked him, why did you go to China to manufacture your iPhone? He said, they are not manufacturing, they are craftsmen. I cannot even get that quality in the US. That's a big statement coming from the #1 company in the world, that the Chinese manufacturing is like craftsmen. I think it's important for us to realize that we need to bring quality into our manufacturing. If we do not bring quality, it cannot be a chalta hai. You have to bring quality and consistency of quality. Product, exactly same. Those who use iPhones, how many iPhones have been hacked? When you see hacking, it's not the iPhone. iPhone is not getting hacked. I mean the security systems that he's put. So I asked one American, I said, why don't you change, why on the iPhone all the time? He said, no, what Steve Jobs did, he hooked you onto the system. So the iPhone may cost $1,200, but people have paid $100,000 for all the apps. So if they leave iPhone, they are losing $100,000. So now they are hooked onto the iPhone. They wait for the next phone to come and the next one to come. So, and he's made it aspirational. And India is an aspirational country. I remember when, sorry sir, 2 minutes, I'm sorry, I know. When I was talking to the head of Apple in the region, he had come down and he said, India is a poor country, they will not buy iPhones. I said, at least you'll agree that 3 to 5% of Indians are rich. What is 3 to 5% of total population? Bigger than all of Europe. Then his eyes opened up. Then he said, oh shit, am I missing a market? But I told him, why are you launching the Apple when it launches across the world? Why do you wait for 1 year and 6 months for the Apple phone? Earlier, if you remember, Apple phone never was launched here. Now it is launched even before Singapore and Dubai. You get it in India. So I think the point is they have realized, and when Chinese market collapsed, the Indian market saved iPhone. They grew in the India market, the sales grew and everything grew. So I think as a country, we are now no more hype. I just want to leave this word with you. We are a reality. And this reality, let us not lose it. Let us not live in a thing that, oh, we are the greatest. To be great, we have to continuously work hard. And all of you are there, youngsters, you want instant gratification? Please wait your time. It will all come. I can tell you from personal experience, hard work never goes unrewarded. You don't get it from here, somebody else will pay you. So just continue to work hard, be sincere to your task, and work in the interest of your country. I think that is something that we need to do because this is our country. We should be proud of it and we should take it wherever we go. Thank you very much.
Sorry to do the personal slips and share an anecdote before you have to get scared. I went to Raipur about 3-4 months back. There was a seminar. I prepared for a week to give a good lecture. And by the time program was over, I just got 3 minutes. So they are luckily from here, so they won't have to go back all the way to Delhi to say that वो बात करनी नहीं मिली. On Richard Ji, so first lecture was about from where we came, and Richard Ji talks about where we can go if we really want to go. Just to comment, very high intelligence quotient of idiots. So whether we need intelligence even to have AI, because AI needs dharmic control. Otherwise AI can become a monster. We know already the deep fakes and all that, the kind of atmosphere the news manufacturing happens. And I believe that there will be highly skilled people, there will be totally million jobs, and middle income people or middle people doing the normal job, clerical and all that, they will disappear. Because everything will be taken by AI. So let us be very careful of AI. And just to give an idea, tourism, a few years back I was trying to do some presentation on tourism. I was shocked to find that Dubai has more visitors than entire India. I'm talking 5 years back. So we have such a huge scope. I think this will change after post-Ram Janmabhoomi temple and all that, because number of people visiting India will grow exponentially in coming years, because we are going to change the image of India totally. And of course, when we talk of being magnet investors, definitely they are looking at opportunities. Whether we provide them enough manpower and people are also equally important. So everybody doesn't end up in Bangalore. Just one question you can ask, because otherwise other speakers will end up like me.
Hi sir. My name is Mr. Tajan, reporter from Fortress German District. In the challenges section, you mentioned income equality. Sorry. Thank you. So, in the challenges section, you mentioned income inequality, skill gap, the need to have educational excellence. But in the overall scheme of things, I mean, at least the way you spoke, they appear to be.
Please stand so others can hear.
Yes.
And you can see you. Smart.
No, I'm not that good looking. Pakistanis are good looking. So in the overall scheme of things, at least the way you presented, they appear to be more of a distraction or rather a sort of footnote, so to say. But my worry is that, when we have like 80 crore people who are still dependent on government subsidized ration, or yesterday ASR report came out which pointed out that even high schoolers, those who clear school, they can't read elementary level text or they can't solve basic arithmetic problems. So my question is, why can't that be the mainstay of our pursuit, as opposed to chasing some notional idea of being a Vishwa Guru or world power, which may or may not necessarily bring income parity or gender parity or education excellence?
So I think, so if you want to become a global powerhouse, or you want to become a global somebody to be counted, I think all those challenges which I spoke about, they have to be met. They are not distractions. That's the reality. And they have to be dealt with. You can't have a country where 2% of the population owns 77% of the income and the rest own whatever. So I think somewhere along the line, I think that income equality addressed. I don't have the answer to it. I don't have the answer, but this has to be worked upon. It's a very serious issue. The other one which we need to look at is, of course, the whole thing around education. I think we need to look at how the education system across, the basic education system around the country actually gets addressed. Healthcare, I mean, we know the challenges. Also, India can become a healthcare tourism market because our top hospitals are really 7-star. I mean, you walk into the hospitals and you don't even find them around the world. But what about the normal poor person? Where does he get? I think we need to work where the normal person can get good quality healthcare treatment, good quality education, so they can also sit in such institutions. They can also come. We have to give opportunities to everybody. And I think the more we work on these, all those which I spoke about in the chat, they are not distractions, by the way. So while I gave numbers of where we can go, these have to be corrected or they will come and hurt you. Take soft power, for example. I think India's biggest thing is soft power. Today, Bollywood is such a big industry today. I mean, their movies compete. I mean, Shah Rukh Khan is considered the 4th largest celebrity in terms of wealth creation. So India has reached that level where cricketers, you see Virat Kohli is one of the richest sportsmen in the world today, right? And even in the Olympics, his picture is being shown out there. So I think we have reached that level. I think we need to work on how we can get more of the society into that inclusive growth. There is something which I did not speak about, Society 5.0 and Industry 5.0. This was rolled out by Japan, where they talk of inclusive growth. They talk about technology and humans will work together for the betterment of society. I think Sir said just now, Mr. Sardarji said that we need control on AI. I completely agree with it. what is happening, a lot of investment is going in really on AI, but not enough is going on regulating AI. And I think a lot more money has to go into it. Otherwise we'll create monsters and we'll be out of the thing. I don't know whether I've answered, but they're not distractions.
No, I think I misspoke. I meant to say small hiccups.
We are not hiccups.
No counter questions, please. Yeah, we have some very time. We have more questions in the last session. I request Shri Kanti More to hand over the total appreciation to Mr. Richard. He has more than 3 decades of experience in management, business leadership, and leading change and forming strategic alliances. He is a science graduate, fellow member of Institute of Cost Accountants and Institute of Company Secretaries. Also CPA, USA, GAP from Indian School of Business and Kellogg School of Management. He has completed leadership program leading for the results from INSE AD France, and he has been awarded the ESG's Competent Boards Global Certification. He has also been conferred with honorary doctorate degree from ITM University Raipur. He has successfully completed programs on making corporate boards more effective, compensation committees, new challenges. I have cut off some of it because he needs more time to speak. Mr. Man is on the board of UK International, Singapore and Youth Venture Fund Management, and is chairperson of FICCI Task Force on ESG, member of CI National Committee of Financial Investments and Targets. With this, I request
Good evening to all of you. Good evening to all of you, and thank you very much for inviting me to speak with all of you. Now, Dr. Sharda has proved that I am like you, a student, right? I'm like you. I'm not a technocrat, like Ashish Bhai has spoken. I'm not a consultant. I'm a student. So I'm part of it. Let me share some practical examples with you. Ashish Bhai has spoken about how the technology can create the wealth. He has spoken about those challenges and how the nation is going. Let me share with you how to create the wealth using the financial services and how to preserve it. That is more important than anything else. Friends, the topic is rise and rise of India. My view is India has risen. India has emerged very strong, and I can tell you with all confidence that India is very, very vibrant. Let me give you a few examples. COVID came, and we were able to administer 2.2 billion vaccines. That basically shown to the world that how powerful we are as a nation. And unless you do something, unless you demonstrate something, the world will not recognize you as a strong powerhouse. In our financial service industry, there is a rising financial literacy program. So all of us as an industry, we are investing a huge amount of resources in educating the people at large across the length and breadth of the country towards the financial literacy. And as a result of which, more and more people are coming and participating in the financial sectors, and they are getting huge amount of benefits. The latest data of our mutual fund is concerned indicates that every month around 17,000 crore comes in the mutual fund industry alone using SIP, systematic investment. And if you see how India has emerged post-COVID, in the year 2019, India witnessed the credit crisis. And 2020, India witnessed the world witnessed, India also witnessed the pandemic. So in December of 2019, the AUM of the industry was 26.77 lakh crore. So 2019 December. And in 23, December number is, all of you may be knowing this number, is around 50 lakh crore. So AUM has doubled in this 5 years time despite COVID. The Sensex in 2019 December was 41,000 crore, it crossed 73,000. Nifty also similar to Nifty. So COVID has not affected India. And that indicates the power of Indians. The foreign direct investment or foreign institutional investors have taken out the money from the Indian capital market, but Indian capital market continue to grow because domestic institutional investors heavily participated in the capital market. Ukraine and Russia war. In February 22, it was started. Then Sensex was 57,000 crore. So whether you have Houthi issues or any other issue, I don't feel you need to have any reasons to worry. Friends, India is really demonstrating landmark transformations in the infrastructure space. I remember when I used to travel from Mumbai, I am very lucky to travel in Mumbai. When I used to go from my Bombay to my native place, Darbhanga, Bihar, it used to take 8.5 to 9 hours. Now I can reach in 3 hours. So we have now over 150 airports in the country. We have A-class roads. We have A-class, ports. So India is investing, and India will continue to invest in the infrastructure. And when I had the occasions and opportunity to meet Mr. Gautam Adani almost 3-4 months back, he assured me that he will build the best infrastructure for the nation. And that is the reason the market cap, because the Interpark, a year back the market cap was discounted by 50-60%. It is more than what it used to be. So connectivity has improved, quality of highway has improved, and digital infrastructure, UPI has improved. Friends, why it happened? What is the reason? That is very important. The reason is, and this is a quote of Rabindranath Tagore. He said, you can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. India took the steps to cross the river. And indeed, last 10 years, our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, worked very hard to ensure that India's soft power increased. One single person did a terrific job. And then let me share an example with you. In 2018 December, I was in Saudi Arabia. We raised money in various other countries to invest in our country. So I was in Saudi Arabia. My class friend in NCR came to meet me, and then he said, India's soft power is increasing, and that is the reality. When I am going to the various overseas countries for the last 35 years, when I give my passport today at any international airport, we are respected as Indians. So children, you are in the right spot. I think you are born at a very lucky time for India, and you are the future of India. Now the future of India is in your hand, and this is you who will make UTI further forward. So you need to remember that whenever the obstacle comes, don't see the obstacle. Please try to overcome it. That is more important for you than anything else. But how do you preserve your character? That is more important. We have a very important book with us. I asked my friends in my country, including I will ask the journalist Dr. Sharda or my younger brother Siddharth, they will not know answer. When Bhagavad Gita was revealed, they can't give me this assurance. Right? I read Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the only book which has very clearly written about the greed. And there are 3 gateways of it. One of them is greed. So it is very important for all of you to work hard and never be greedy. If you want to work in the financial services, you need to follow the ethical practices. And if you follow the ethical practices, you will have a wonderful time, wonderful pay, and wonderful career. I am an example of Indian aspiration. I was born and brought up in the village, and I have seen all the scarcity in the life. But India has given me this career. And I'm managing one of the second largest asset management company in the country. It is the Indian aspirations. So you need not to look beyond and go any other country to see and look for your career. Here is your career. But now let me just give you another example. This morning when I came from Dubai and stayed almost until I'm here, I just went to the office for 15 minutes to change my dress and came. The driver who dropped me from the hotel to the airport was a Pakistani. And I asked him, how's your country? He said, very bad. The conversion between Indian rupee to the UAE is 22 rupees. He said, aapka to 22 rupees hai, hamara to 77 rupees. He said, to run a small family, I need 100,000 rupees. In our country, we can still live with 25,000 rupees. That is a change. That is your country. That is our country. And I am sure by 2047, India will definitely be a Viksit Bharat. And you will have to play a very, very important role to make India a Viksit Bharat. Mukesh Bhai recently in the Gujarat Bhai Summit said that by 2027, Indian economy will be $35 trillion. You need to participate in this. You should also become wealthier and make sure that others have also become wealthier with you. Another thing which you need to address, China plus one. There is a narrative today, China plus one. Kill this China plus one. In plus one, the name India comes. You will always be subordinate. You will never be the boss. So we cannot be China plus one in the world. China is one at one place. We will be one place. So we cannot be China plus one. This is responsible to the young Indians, not oldie like me, to make India plus one, not China plus one. So there is huge responsibility on your shoulder to make China plus one to India plus one. Soft power is very, very important and again plays a very, very important role in soft power. Let me conclude with this word of Swami Vivekananda. The world is a great gymnasium where we come to make ourselves strong. All circus hai. Unless you work hard and make all your muscle power very strong, no one will take you seriously. So if you work very hard and if you work honestly, follow the path of Bhagavad Gita, then I'm quite confident you will have a bright future. May God bless all of you and may God bless you, India. Thank you.
Talked about him being a humble accountant compared to the consultants and the idea people. But I can tell you, people who are in the industry, cost accountants are most dangerous people to work with. Because whatever you might think, he is not going to cut down your budget by any amount. So that's the power of being a cost accountant. And he has been very economical in his word. I think the way he has taken the entire topic in such a short time. Thank you, Mr. Rahman. And since there are only one more speaker left, I'll go for the question answer together. And just to add, Gita was narrated on the battlefield. So remember that even in the battlefield, ultimately Gita is that going to help you, whether it's the financial field or your life or anywhere. Because life is a battlefield, or it can be a battlefield depending on how you treat yourself and the Gita's message. Thank you, sir. And we move on to the last speaker today, Mr. Davinder Sandhu, co-founder and chair of Primus Partners. Davinder is co-founder and chairperson of Primus Partners, a homegrown Indian company that is it has managed, he is veteran of management consultancy and previously partner and national head for transport and logistics in KPMG. A former civil servant, Davinder has senior position at Prime Minister's office and executive board of directors at the World Bank Group and at the Indian Railways. He is well versed with the mechanics of governance and the process of making national laws, laying down the policy frameworks and working on the regulatory mechanisms. I think he has a lot of questions for you. And he is also assisted private sector with strategy refresh and designs, project studies, policy advisories, transaction advisory, go-to-market planning. At the PMO, he was part of large transformational projects wherein he looked at new initiatives, project monitoring, policy laws, regulatory regimes, PPPs and international collaborations. As the director of largest trust fund for disaster management and PM National Relief Fund, he has designed and large cross-sector programs from Gujarat to Northeast, from Kashmir to Kar Nicobar. Our strong experience and just leave out the experience part because I want to get better time to speak to you. Before I ask the village to speak, local appreciation for Mr. Rahman. I request Sampath ji to handle the token of appreciation to the council. Mr. Sampath. छोड़ने गए अच्छा ठीक है तो बाद में एक साथ
stories of what colonial India used to be. You are even more fortunate if you are building India of the future. I'm here to just share some thoughts about what's taken. And this, of course, comes from some experiences that my motherland has given me in some places, whereas one had had the privilege of meeting almost every head of government across the world, those who mattered, around 30-40 of them, in various settings, one-on-one with our prime ministers, etc., or at the World Bank, etc. Obviously, I will not be able to take names to understand that, but I'll try to share some of those experiences with you and how I see the great wrestling. If you read history, how did nations become great? All the nations today, whether they are the P5s, how did they become great? उनका एक ही काम था, फौज बनाओ, नेवी बनाओ, आर्मादा बनाओ, कहीं जाओ, लूटो। 500-600 साल यही हुआ। It was colonial forces that looted the rest. And that is how those powers became great powers. It is not without coincidence that all those countries had the strongest navies. The British Royal Navy, the Dutch Armada, Spanish Armada, Portuguese Armada, and they were the colonials, whether it was South America, whether it was Africa, whether it was Asia. And that was the way to become rich and become a great power. I think India is changing that dynamic. Let's go back to 1947, when the League of Nations, as used to be called in those days, you try to look up these thoughts as afterwards. At the end of the Second World War, the League of Nations is dismantled, and a new world order is created based on the United Nations. And retreat. And new independent nations are born across Africa, across Latin America, and of course Asia, of which our motherland was one nation that established itself as a modern constitutional state. While challenges are there, and those challenges are not to be minimized, but fact of the matter is that if we look and compare ourselves with any of those nations that were born after the Second World War, our motherland stands head and shoulders above anybody else. There is no comparison of where we are. There is no other nation who became independent, was not a colonial, did not root anybody, but started fresh in 1947 and is today a space power, a nuclear power, recognized across the world, some of the largest pools of capital, some of the largest pools of capacity, skills, etc. and respected the world over. So there is a lot that is done. We have defeated smallpox, we have defeated polio, we did the Green Revolution, today we are the largest food producing nation in the world. So I want to tell you, this is my sharing with you. That this is a platform that you have, a wonderful platform that you have to take our motherland forward. हमने ग्रेट पावर बनने का तरीका बदल दिया है। जैसे ग्रेट पावर पहले बनती थी लूट खसोट से, मारपीट के, हमारा तरीका अलग होगा और ये सेंचुरी हमारी है। ये मेरे छोटे से आपके 4-5 स्लाइड में आपको दूंगा, लेकिन उसके बाद आई वांट टू एंगेज एंड हैव अ कन्वर्सेशन व्हिच इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट। So rather than fighting with somebody, going and threatening somebody, what does India do? India leads. जब दुनिया में लड़ाई हो रही थी, यूक्रेन रशिया आपस में लड़ रहे थे, अमेरिका एक तरफ, सब एक तरफ, इंडिया की आवाज उठी। इंडिया ने कहा दिस इज नॉट ए टाइम फॉर वॉर। ऑल ऑफ यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड इट, एंड दिस स्टेटमेंट वाज रिपीटेड बाय ऑलमोस्ट एवरी लीडर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। दिस इज हाउ इंडिया लीड्स। India became a leader not by participating in the fight, but by bringing a larger global human vision to the entire issue and said it is not a time for war. Then Global South, India created the non-aligned movement of G77 nations and defeated the bipolar world of Soviets and Americans. And India became the third pole in non-aligned movement. And now India again resurrected that as the Global South. This is how India leads. Today, I go to the United Nations Security Council and talk to friends, or I'm seeing what the Organization of African States is talking about. They talk of this phrase, Global South. This is how India leads. Net zero by 2070. After the Paris Accord was broken down by the next American President, Mr. Trump, in Glasgow, it is India that stood up and said, we will announce net zero by 2070. The first nation to make such a commitment. Globally recognized and actually brought climate back on the agenda of the global leaderships. Public digital infrastructure as a global good. We have talked about the India stack. But today this is recognized. It was recognized in G20, it is recognized in the recent Marrakesh World Bank meetings, where India's contribution to public digital infrastructure, UPI as a almost nil cost financial platform, enabler, our co-vaccine, our all those platforms that are going on to the world. So my first point about India's rising power, India's aspirations for 21st century for all of you is how has India changed the dynamic? India leads, not necessarily with warships, not necessarily by beating anybody, but India leads with these statements. This is how India leads today. India heals. India goes and does not create problems, but it heals problems. It discovered a vaccine basis. We beat Japan. It's only US, China, and India. Market prices is a factor of foreign exchange and all kind of currency baskets and all that. That's one part. But on BTP basis, we are already in the world. We are the largest road network in the world. We are just little short of US now. It's around, some small margin of, it's in decimals now short we are, but with our programs that we have on right now, Atmala program in the second phase, we will have the largest road network in the world. We are the largest road producer in the world. As was mentioned, there was a time when it used to be said India ship to mouth. And PL 480 was actually the US Congress resolution that authorized the supply of wheat to us. So the ship would come and it would be distributed. But when Lal Bahadur Shastri ji gave the challenge and said Jai Kisan, Jai Kisan and asked the farmers to produce the green revolution, it was done. We are today the providers of cereals to the rest of the world. And in case we say that we will stop our exports, the global prices are going up. We are today the largest food producers in the world. We are the largest producers in the world. The green revolution, the white revolution, now the blue revolution on our fishing stock that is going forward and taking our fishermen and those communities further. I mean these achievements, marvel at these achievements. For a country that was like this only 30, 40, 50 years ago. Skills and capacity, all of you, I look at the faces of all of you and I see the bright future that we have. You are skilled, capacity, you speak English, you can talk, you can network, you can take up a phone and you can, 1,000 things. You'll pass out tomorrow and 5 of you will get together and, create new ideas and thoughts. Nowhere else. So India leads with those statements. It is not a time for war. India heals, and despite that India grows. It has never happened in human history. Not anywhere in human history. Unique example. Please go. And therefore India rises. We have seen what has happened at G20. We have seen we are a member of the United Nations Security Council for long, and very shortly we will be part of the permanent. And there is a small story that I can share that after the global financial crisis, the G8 met in a place called Hellingdam in Germany, and they were trying to resolve the crisis. And at that time, India told those G8 people, you created the crisis. You have no solution. Please expand, forget about this G8, go to G20. If you see the history of G20, 1999 it was constituted after the Asian crisis as a finance ministers conference. It was India that elevated it to the government of head level. So G20 is in its current format the creation of India. The first leaders conference was 2008 in the United States at that time. It was not an annual conference at that time, but it was India that led that exercise. And we have seen how our Prime Minister has led this exercise last year in taking India forward in a measure of the world. So G20 and UNS, that is how India rises. Everybody listens. We brought a consensus on the G20 in the leaders' communique which divided everybody in Bali. And we did that in difficult moments like the Ukraine-Russia war. This is how India rises. There is only one country in the world which has an ocean named after it. Think of this. It is not a small factor. We are the only country in the world that can assure that global trade can happen, because the Indian Ocean is our zone and we will not allow anybody in it. And therefore, this is how India rises. We have formed the Indian Ocean Rim States organizations. Our Indian Navy and our eyes in the sky and our eyes beneath the water, we will make sure that it is secure. We are not threatening anybody. देखिए मैं बात आपको फिर दोबारा याद दिलाता हूँ. हमारी नेवी किसी को थ्रेट नहीं कर रही है. हमारी नेवी ये कह रही है कि तमीज से पेश आओ, हम सबको सिक्योरिटी देंगे. तो बात दूसरी है कि तमीज से कोई नहीं पेश आएगा तो वो भी देखा जाएगा. लेकिन that is not our first intention. Our first intention is not to fight, loot and terrorize anybody. In fact, हमारी culture में the saying is that we don't scare anybody and we are not even afraid of anybody. That is how we are. So it is a new paradigm that we are pursuing in all our global conversations. I've had the privilege of representing India at almost all global bodies, whether it is ASEAN or SAARC or BRICS or G20 or the UN, etc. But I can tell you our approach is so forward-looking. ऐसे कभी was in his human history, it has never happened that a nation has grown like this. And finally, nuclear and space, where are we? Nobody can beat our cost. I mean, people are completely surprised at what we have done. And now the world had to break down the technology denial regime for us. We did sit in front of everybody and get our nuclear deals. Everybody recognized that. We today don't have a denial regime at all. And we are the lowest cost. And be recognized as a power. And very soon when our thorium cycles fructify, we will be free of uranium. As all of you know that part. Mr. Kapotka and all those people are working for all those things to put forward. And then we are now moving forward and setting up global organizations. Prime Minister Modi's vision of the solar grid across the world. The International Solar Alliance is today a membership of 137 countries across the world. It is the largest UN recognized body that has been found after the UN. And then the CDRI, which is the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, is very important for us. Climate change and infrastructure together, we are funding it, we are bringing new technologies, new solutions to it. Our global companies are going all over the world and building infrastructure which is disaster resilient. We are taking our examples there. We are a robust technology power, we are a robust management power. So India leads, India heals, and still grows, and now rises. So I want you to think of this. Never in human history has a nation grown and risen with this paradigm. It has always been pitunga, marunga, chori chakari karunga, lootunga. This is the first country in the world that is growing and contributing without scaring anybody, without being scared of anybody, and getting its due place in the global community. Next slide. And this is something remarkable. Wherever I went, leave aside one or two countries with which we have problems today, which will get resolved in the next 10, 15, 20 years, everybody will come to their senses. But most of the world today recognizes that the rise of India is for the global good of India. India does not threaten anybody, India is not scared of anybody, but India wants to grow and wants everybody else to grow. So it leads, heals, grows and rises, and as we said earlier, and we all know, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is something that we don't speak, but we actually mean. That is the way we say things and that's the way we live. और इस phrase का किसी के पास कार्ड नहीं है, ये मैं आपको बता दूं. Nobody can argue with us on this attitude of ours. Everybody has to submit. And therefore, this is where we are seen as a responsible power. We are rising. We don't threaten anybody. Our rise is in the good of everybody. It is good for our country, of course, our motherland, but it is good for our friends and partners and our allies. And we are seen as a responsible power. If you look at our western neighbor, is seen as an irresponsible nuclear power. We are seen as a responsible nuclear power. So this is the way we are going, and this is the way we are. And taking concepts like from our Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or life, about how we see environment, how when we venerate rivers and we venerate forests and we venerate mountains, it is not superstition. It has meaning. It is part of the way we live and the part of the way we think that everything is one and everything is connected. And therefore, this is how we are. And part of that soft power of Bollywood, of our stories, and how it is reaching to the rest of the world. This is the remarkable growth of India, where India is growing softly. Everybody knows that it is good for its own growth. And I again want to repeat to you, go back and check all your data. 1947, make a list of all countries that were born. We stand head and shoulders above anybody. And examine throughout history, right from the Romans to the Greco-Romans to wherever you want to go. There is no country that has grown like this in a manner which is unique, without threatening everybody. And I'm very happy to tell you my conviction that this is India's century and you will be its foundations.
upheavals, right, from Russian-Ukraine war onwards, and see how flexibly, how very cleverly, and how intelligently India has crossed this minefield instead of suffering anything. In fact, roll on the base of those minefields, COVID and all that, and you will understand how India has changed. We were lucky to start on a very small base, so we started on zero base. Your challenge, you are already on a base which is very high. The challenge to go beyond that, and I'm sure you will do that. With this, I request Mr. Sampath to hand over the token of appreciation to Mr. Imtiazur Rahman. Okay, Mr. Sri. We are at the end of the program. We have 5 minutes more, and I think we're supposed to get over at 7, so I got 5 minutes of margin. So if anybody has a question, please.
I come across a lot of institutions which have access to capital, and all they talk about is how they are not.
Hi, sir. I'm Abhishek Patil. And my question is, I come across a lot of institutions who talk about how India has an abundance of capital, but not enough quality assets. And at the same time, we are seeing the SMEs in the country who are facing somewhere close to a $120 billion funding gap. So we have a supply, we have a demand, but where are our financial institutions or regulatory bodies failing that we are not able to bridge this gap appropriately? Is there something that can be done through a policy intervention that can help us make sure that this capital reaches the SMEs who need it to scale and make this India dream come true?
As all of us know that we are a capital scarce, number one. But Government of India came out with a plan for SME, and that plan is working very well. It will not be possible for a nation like us, which has such a large population, so we need a lot of people who is below the poverty line, to feed the SME also. There are two reasons why SME failed. One, various SMEs books of accounts were not good. Auditors, you can have a certification. So therefore, the large auditor will never take the assignment for our services. So books of accounts were never very good. The responsibility toward the nations to pay the tax on time, or those days central sales tax used to pay, GST, or filing the returns on time, huge amount of cash. And many of them also were more insightfully fund from one business to the other and business to the other. So these are systematic losses that there are, systematic gaps are there. I think this government has done a lot, taken a lot of efforts, and instructed many banks to support the SME. And that is the reason various SMEs have been revived, and now the new gen SMEs are doing a good job. Because a lot of transparency has come to the system. As we have more and more transparency, and also the online filing of returns, this country will witness huge amount of support for the job creations. So future is bright, but it's still is a capitalist scarce country. And one thing we can fix here is if entrepreneurs become honest, and if we are able to address the currency issue. Often our currency floats in a very different way. Either it will appreciate by 6-7%, or it will depreciate by 10%. So often the foreign investor would find it very difficult to to invest in the city because of also the currency fluctuations. So the government is very cognizant, and we also as a investors in the large to deploy large amount of capital in the Indian market, we are taking these steps very seriously. We have a fund, our own fund, credit fund, UTI, and we fund a large amount of SMEs, not by the capital infusion, the equity capital, but we have a credit fund in this. So again, I will tell you the transparency is very important, and if there is a transparent, huge amount of funds are available for them to take the business forward.
Thank you. Let me take it just and use my discretionary power to have another 5 minutes. Then one more question. Last question. You can come with the last question. You raise the hand, please. Go ahead.
So hi, I'm Harsh Anklesha. I'm actually a student from GLC, not from here. So my question is, I have a theory that the whole Indian economy is strengthened because of the parallel economy which is running, which is the black economy, which a lot of might say. So the theory is like in 2007, our economy was not collapsed in the housing loan crisis because of the only fact that all the housing loans are backed by the black में जो payments होते थे building में infrastructure में. So do you think this economy, the black economy which is running parallel to the Indian economy, is a very huge trend that is giving to the Indian economy for becoming a very sound economy?
Yeah, I got the question. Wonderful questions.
I think it's all. So, as a student of economics, the question that I would sort of pose to you also is, what is the black economy? Hold on. So let me just clarify my thought. Let me also stand up so that I can see. There is nothing called a black economy. Money has no color. Money is money. It's an exchange. It's an exchange medium. Let me give you a practical example. आप स्कूटर चलाते हैं, मोटरसाइकिल चलाते हैं. आप मोटरसाइकिल चला रहे हैं, आपने रेड लाइट पार कर ली. सामने पुलिस वाले ने रोका. आप ओके? उसने कहा चलान करो. आपने कहा पैसा नहीं है, ये उसने कहा 50 रुपये. आपने वो 50 रुपये ATM से निकाला. वाइट था. आपने उसको दिया, ब्लैक हो गया. हो गया ना? आप चले गए, वो पकौड़े वाली दुकान पे गया. उसने 50 रुपये का चाय और पकौड़ा खरीदा और खा लिया. और पकौड़े वाले ने क्या किया? उसको शाम को 2 चीजें करनी थी. 25 रुपया था म्यूनिसिपल स्कूल में उस बच्चे की फीस भरनी थी और 25 रुपये का बेसन लेना था. वो विदाउट बिल लिया. तो अभी हाफ हो गया. वो म्यूनिसिपल कॉलेज में वाइट चला गया, हाफ आधा ब्लैक हो गया. ये वाइट ब्लैक कुछ नहीं है. इट इज ओनली ए मीडियम ऑफ एक्सचेंज. We call black money only to that part of the money which is evading taxes. There is no harm in normal money being exchanged all over. After November 2016, the amount of cash in the economy is higher. How will people who do not want to go, large deals, 5 रुपया, 10 रुपया, 2 रुपये का चाय पिया, 5 रुपये का चाय पिया, वो कैसे करेंगे? Now UPI is available. Now those things are available. Because there are low-cost financial switches that allow you to do those transactions. It allows anybody sitting on the road also to take a UPI transaction, लेकिन पहले नहीं था. And let me again give you an example. Go to the US system. US system, all students and taxi drivers and those who are on the lower end of the economy are dependent on tips. IRS का फॉर्म देखोगे, उसमें tips का कॉलम है, वो हर आदमी 0. But everybody understands that this is a normal exchange that is taking place and it is sustaining society. So when you look at a macroeconomic situation, you take a reasonable view of taking the country forward. In that reasonable view, don't get bothered about these things. The thing that we need to bother, and as Raman sir has rightly said, we need to put systems in place that encourage people to be transparent. And that also comes partly to me and my colleagues to make sure that there is less regulation, that systems are easier, they are simpler. If there is a problem that needs to be taken care of, कोई भी आदमी गलत काम करना नहीं चाहता. We need as a country to keep on moving, and we are continuously moving. The kind of technologies we are using, the way systems that we are putting in place, this will continue to improve. But I am happy to, just just go back to yourself and think there is nothing called black money. Money is only a medium of exchange. And sometimes at the larger macroeconomic level, you will say, ठीक है यार, ये देश चल रहा है ना, ये अगले 5-7 साल में ठीक होगा. You need to take a larger view of life. And one thought, I'm just giving you a minute. Life runs just as the way we run our families. The moment we try to run it in any other way, it will fail. आपके पिताजी हैं, आपको गलत काम करके आए तो आपको थाने तो नहीं ले जाते सीधे, आपको समझाते हैं, बुझाते हैं, आप नहीं मानते हैं, चाचा को बुलाते हैं, मामा को बुलाते हैं. This is how life goes. This is when a prime minister looks at a country. Prime minister looks at the country as a family. तो पता है ये थोड़ा कर दिया, इसको समझाऊंगा, बुझाऊंगा, देश आगे चलेगा. So it's a different way of looking at that way of running the country. Just submitting the thought.
To speak anything about economy or assembly. I wanted to share a story. I think we as Indians, we lack pride in us. Let me share my experience of Monday evening when I was flying out. And that is the reason I am carrying my passport to state. I went to the immigration counter. First time in my life, the immigration counter took my passport and expressed his anguish. I was very upset. Because my passport had all the stickers. So India was shown, but Republic was not shown. And he was very upset, extremely upset. He said, if you see the passport of any other country, it is so clear. But Indian passport, Indians do not take care about their passport. And some of the things get removed and some of the things I remove. But you see how filthy it is. Because we don't take pride in this. And one D is not a one, he's a D immigration officer, had the guts to tell me that we need to take pride. That is the reason I have carried his passport. I have not meditated. All this travel agent, not only that, he had a courage which he was not authorized to do so. He was not authorized to, by law, to touch my passport. His duty is to only verify and stamp. But I have e-visa. So my passport has a lot of e-visas. It is stapled also. He removed the visa and gave it to me. I was very quietly observing. And I have tremendous respect for him. I'm going to write a letter to him about his courage. So we need to take pride as we Indian. We should not think black money, this money, that money. If you don't take pride, you will not progress. So take pride in this. And take pride in the best places in the world. Take pride in the
was paying huge tax suddenly, and the friend asked him that you are paying tax and you are taking cash. He said, क्या करें? शायद रुपया रखना पड़ा क्योंकि नहीं तो पास दुकान पे जाएगा. So that is how formalization is happening. That person that believe in electronic transaction had to go for UPI because others were doing UPI. That's an example I take. With this I close this session and thank you very much everybody. I would request share your totally give vote of thanks.
I request Sid to give vote of thanks. Before that, I thought I had a couple of sentences. I really thank all the panel speakers. It's not a vote of thanks from my side as I understood that because their passion towards. In fact, somebody observed it. Sir, आज panel आप कैसे बनाए? Even I just go that. ये वाला क्यों बने? ये true अमर अकबर एंटनी का panel. see that the panel speakers that came by maybe, but that's not the topic. What are we topic on this? Bharat Ek Vishwa Guru. I recently been to Kolhapur. I saw that canary mine. When I walked around, they could able to bring all the things which is in our country. Last week when I was in Tanjore, I could able to see the construction which is constructed 2000 years before, even you can't do now. If you walk in the central stone, it talks about the 7 that music in this stone. India is always best. Whether technology, if we talk about the ancient days, even you can't do. Yesterday, Modi ji was there in Karnataka, that place where Guruvayur is in Kerala, Virupaksha, right? That paint is so famous. There, the pillar hangs from the top. That is the Jadayu Kshetra. The reason why I am telling you, whether you talk about the steel what we used 2000 years before, never rusted. Whether you can talk about the Shushrut, that medical. We are always ahead. When you talk about academics, all the great universities, we used to be a global hub for the knowledge. Unfortunately, even 10th to 16th century, India's contribution towards global GDP is always high, either India or China. It all lost between 16th century to the 19th century, 300 years. In fact, it is an inconvenient truth. I know I met to bring someone of the professor of power. Jeffrey Jones, he talks about world business history. When he teaches world business history, in fact, my dream, we should have a business history in MBA curriculum, it is going to come. Take my word, maybe even juniors will get chance. In Harvard, they are teaching business history about India. We couldn't able to follow, we are trying to copy the best. The day will change because we have done genuine work. Unfortunately, we are all lost the legacy last 300 years. Many facts were misinterpreted. And we are always, for example, global south we talk about. I was talking in today's unfortunately inconvenient truth. When you talk about the happiness index, which is launched in 2023, India ranked 126. When you compare with Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Israel, they are all ranked better than us. How can you compare apple with jackfruit? 144 crore population. You can't compare. Who's going to question? Not only this, I was with IIM Ahmedabad director last week on panel discussion. QS ranking, we are not in the top 100. Now, as an academician, we don't want, as a student, don't take anything blindly, whichever report comes, because this organized, today when you organize this event, not to propaganda of our thing. We are also having a lack of today, every panel member talked about the strength, also the scope for improvement, GDP. We talk about more, but per capita income is low. This type of conferences, seminars, intellectual discussion will allow you to scope for improvement, think for you guys. As a management grant, when you are getting into corporate tomorrow, it is not just paid the company like, we should carry forward our legacy. What is our past legacy? This is an attempt to what we are making through this type of program. Don't come to the conclusion. Be with an open mind, learn it, what this country is all about, contributing towards world. We are producing the best, but unfortunately this doesn't want to propagate us for people. But we should be the game changer, and I'm very happy, whoever bears them today, trust me, passionate people to contribute towards whatever capacity they can do it in their respect. Please give wonderful class. This is what the purpose of the program. Let's keep do good thing. Sir, we started questioning Global Happiness Index, United Nations report. Probably March 20th we are launching a report with a better sample size, and we will prove it. This is academician, best academician responsibility to the society. And we are not first. Let question, let debate. Debate with intellectual, not with arguments. Let talks, numbers should talk. That is what today people talk about. We are a country of passion. Right? I wish you all the best. I don't want to do vote of thanks because that vote of thanks, I really thank everybody. People came and nobody thought of this standing short of the time. Everybody gave a wonderful time to us. Sir, my humble request, Veeravra Natanji, I know him for many years. He there. Today, if he is not there, he must be there in any TV channel. He spent today invested with us. Rahman sir, my open request, please do visit Bajaj because our institute also, whenever I go, we don't have world-class infrastructure. But ours is value-based institute. World-class students, I can definitely come through merit. We don't have any back-end research. Okay, 1,99.9%. Another program which we started. So we wish you to frequently to be in the practice. If you are in Mumbai, happy to welcome to this. And thanks.
Can I request Siddharth Sharma? Can I request Aditi? And can I request Udayji to come on the stage and hand over the Tulsi plant and memento to Ratan Shardaji? I would like to thank everyone. Vote of thanks means that all of you who came and spent some time understanding about Bharat. I'll spend a minute to talk about your such an interesting logo, Bharat Ek Vishwa Guru. What is this Bharat Ek Vishwa Guru? We are trying to create a platform which thinks about Bharat first before your stomach. As you are management students, there are a lot of people who are viewing online, and this video is going to go around the corner. As we go into the ups and downs of life in the corporate roller coaster, we start thinking about me, my stomach. What can I get? Can we have an agenda of what can we give to nation first? And that's where this concept came in amongst a few individuals, and then this group became bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we realized that every one of us, each one of us, has this sensitization towards Bharat. We all want Bharat, to Bharat, but there is no platform. So for this, which is educated, relatively prosperous Bharat, we created this group so that you can learn, understand, and maybe do one act. Maybe inspire one person who's in the bottom of the pyramid 10%. The agenda of this Bharat Ek Vishwa Guru is very simple. Can you guys are top 10% of Bharat? All of us who are sitting in this room are top 10% of Bharat. Can we impact 1% in the bottom 10% of Bharat? Just one. And then whatever gentleman sitting here said, everybody will do big things. Can we do those small things? And Bharat will become the Vishwa Guru. So with this, gratitude to some of the students who helped me plan this entire thing. There are a lot of people who helped me get the time of these precious time of these gentlemen, because otherwise they are uncatchable. And thank you for creating this infrastructure. Professor Iyengar has been very supportive. And I request all of you to connect with us in Bharat Ek Vishwa Guru. Maybe you will find a mentor in some of these people. Maybe you will find some inspiration from these people. And when you start giving, it comes 100 folds back to you. So just start doing that and you will see the journey. Thank you, all of you, for a wonderful evening. This is the third edition. We will have the fourth edition soon. I would hope some of you, if not all of you can visit to the next edition, we'll keep the information posted to your professor and he will share it with all of you, because the idea is jago or jagao. That's the whole thought process. With this, can you all stand up for the national anthem? And last but not least, my sincere thanks to Abhishek Karnani ji, Kaiwat from Free Press Journal, and all the distinguished guests and the photographer who has been very kind and supportive, and the journalists who came from the Free Press Journal for covering this event. Without, as you guys are the fourth pillar of democracy, and if you don't make this visible, the top 10% supporting the bottom 10%, it won't be possible. Thank you. National anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे